My name is Abel Mac. I've been sitting here wondering what I'm doing at another ratepayers meeting. When you've been to as many as I have, they all begin to look and sound alike. And yet, I have the feeling that this one will be different. At least for me. Maybe it's the flavor of what has already gone before. Now, for instance, Jed Oliver. It's all steamed up over the proposed route of a new township road outside of town.
Sure, this new road is coming through regardless of how I feel about it. I don't suppose it matters to the rest of you where it comes through, but it matters to me. That new road could just about slice my farm in half.
And Rita Gray, annoyed about some road work that isn't being done.
Oh, I'm sure the Public Works Department has us in mind, as you say, Ralph. They've been intending to pave our street for 6 months now. Well, their good intentions may be all right for the road to hell, but I want some proper paving in front of my house.
And Tom Fuller, manager of the local plastics plant, going on a bit about a new school addition.
Now, mind you, I don't object to the new addition. Eventually, we're going to have it. But for the moment, can't we shift some of our new youngsters over to the West End School temporarily?
No denying this was a livelier ratepayers meeting than most. Still, I had a feeling there was more to come. And it did, ever so casually.
Now, I'd like to introduce our municipal utilities manager, Mr. David Spencer. I've invited him here tonight on behalf of Hydro. Dave?
I expect it's about the new hydro station you're putting in.
And so it was, apparently. Young Dave explained where the new station would be located and how it would be designed and built and landscaped to fit as attractively as possible into its particular location. Well, nobody seemed to care, really, one way or the other about it. And then Jed Oliver suddenly came to life again.
Yes, sir. What's it for? Sir? What is the new hydro station for? Looks pretty enough, but what's it going to do?
Oh, it'll be a transformer station, sir.
Well, would you mind telling me what a transformer station does?
Of course. You're the gentleman with the farm, right?
Half a farm in a few months, maybe, but what's that got to do with it?
Well, it would take a typical day on your farm. From morning until night, you probably use electrical power on your farm. There are more than 400 different ways Ontario farmers use electricity to lighten their work and make it more productive today. Yet, no matter how much electric power you use, or how many different ways you use it, you can only use it at all in small amounts. That's either 115 or 230 volts. But we generate the power at 13,800 volts. And we can only send it over long distances efficiently at very high voltage, like 115,000 and 230,000 volts. It's like any housewife buying just a few slices of boiled ham she can really use at one time. But it can only be economical for either one of you when you market milk in big lots. Between your marketing and the housewife's marketing, of course, there are the intermediate steps of distributing and packaging for home use. Well, between our generating and transmitting power and your using it, there are big marketing gaps too. These gaps are filled by transformer and distribution stations. They make progressive voltage adjustments to distribute the power in the voltage size you need on your farm. That's what this new hydro station will do. Make more usable power available to you folks out there in that fast-growing Barston Way section.
Kind of interesting at that.
So Jed found it suddenly kind of interesting. I remember when Jed's grandfather farmed his place, and how hard he worked at it, too. Now, all Jed does is push a button. And that takes care of all the feed for all his beef animals in just a few minutes. So I was glad Jed found it interesting. Of course, I wouldn't expect everyone to look at it the way I do. And least of all, Tom Fuller.
Ralph. Oh, Ralph. Please, folks, can we have a little more quiet? We'll soon be through, I'm sure. Now, Tom?
I wanted to ask Mr. Spencer a question, if it's all right.
Certainly, sir.
Who's going to pay for this new station? Us?
Yes, ultimately. But what you may not realize is that you've already paid for part of it.
What do you mean?
Well, maybe I can explain it this way. Now, a portion of your hydro bill is placed in a fund to help finance capital expansion, such as this new station we're talking about. This is the advantage of the hydro enterprise. What would normally be profits from your utilities operation are used to improve electric service to the customer.
Well, supposing the fund isn't large enough.
Well, in that case, additional funds could be raised through the issue of debentures, which would be amortized over a period of years.
But wouldn't our rates go up to cover the cost?
Not necessarily. The revenue from the additional power supplied through the new installation would offset its cost.
Well, young Dave had a tough question to answer there, but he handled it well, I thought. He explained how, from its small beginning in 1906, hydro has always belonged to the people of Ontario. This hydro system has been made possible through the cooperation of local utilities, which service the people in their own municipalities. He pointed out how this group of cooperating local hydro commissions has grown from 14 to more than 350. Today, there is virtually no hamlet in Ontario too small to have its own hydro commission. And no city too big. Each local utility is geared to the needs of its own people. At the head of this hydro family, so to speak, is Ontario Hydro, which supplies the power distributed by the local utilities. And those people who use the hydro, no matter how little or how much, are its real owners. Hydro belongs to all the people. It's theirs to command. Why? Because the rivers and lakes of all Ontario belong to the people. And it's the water of these same rivers and lakes that provides the basic source of most of our electric power in Ontario. Ontario Hydro supplies its customers, the local utility commission, with this power at cost. And each local utility, in turn, sells the power at cost to its own customers, the people. That's why the people of Ontario enjoy electric power at rates among the lowest on the North American continent. That includes commercial users and industrial users and the farmer and his wife.
Well, that seems to make sense.
I think it does. It's very different from the usual power company setup and very successful.
Oh, I guess it works all right. Thank you.
Well, it's nice when someone like Tom Fuller suddenly discovers hydro and concludes that it's working all right, as though hydro hasn't been working all right for the people of Ontario for 50 years and more. Helping people like Tom Fuller and his plastics plant with all its jobs. Or the furniture factory that really put this town on the map. Or any of the other industries and businesses that came in here to grow with this town and the hydro. But, of course, that's just my thinking. Tom Fuller doesn't have the same reasons. Neither does Jed Oliver. Or any of the... Good heavens. Having the floor once has surely flipped them all.
Mr. Chairman, Ralph.
The chair recognizes Rita Gray.
Well, you don't need to be so darn formal, Ralph. I just wanted to ask Mr. Spencer one little question about hydro.
What did you want to ask, Mrs. Gray?
Well, I have a sister in the States. Her electric bills are about double mine.
Yes?
So I guess what you've been saying about power at cost and no hydro profits and so forth must be all true.
Well, of course, that's the whole operating basis of hydro, a kind of public trust.
But isn't hydro a business also?
A very big business, Mrs. Gray. Taking together the whole group of cooperating hydro organizations in Ontario, we serve nearly 2 million customers every day.
I see.
Was that your question, Rita?
No, Ralph. I don't know really how to phrase it, but I'll ask Mr. Spencer anyway.
I hope I can answer it.
Well, I don't know too much about business, but I don't see how hydro stays in business.
I'm not sure that's a proper question, Rita.
It's all right, Ralph. I think I know what you mean. Mrs. Gray,
Yes?
are you really asking how, with everything else going up so much these days, hydro manages to maintain your power at such a low cost?
Yes, I guess so.
Well, of course, there are many factors involved.
Many factors indeed. And young Dave covered a good share of them. Saves money, too, frequently devising new operating methods and materials that provide better performance at lower cost. Again, Hydro's modern helicopter fleet saves Hydro users millions of dollars in more efficient line patrol, troubleshooting, and maintenance. Hydro's industrial counseling section often saves the industrial customer time and money through more efficient use of hydroelectric power. Dave mentioned other factors, too. Then he came to the most important one, at least to me.
But more than anything else, hydro is people. People pretty much like you folks. But people who take a special kind of pride in their work. And that's my main reason for being here tonight. Because that special kind of pride is probably Hydro's and Ontario's greatest asset. Where do you find it? Throughout the Hydro family. In every hydro line crew ever called out to restore power in an emergency. In every control room team across Ontario, where, regardless of emergencies, responsibility for maintaining continuous power is never ending. In the thousands of people who have been in the Hydro family for 25 years or more. And in thousands more just starting their hydro careers. In still more thousands of people you rarely see or hear about. Engineers, secretaries, managers, all doing their jobs quietly and efficiently day after day. Young or old, it doesn't much matter. The people that work for Hydro work for all Ontario. We really work for you. We and Hydro are literally yours to command.
I should think not, young man. Many a time I've come into the Hydro to pay my bill and gone away with the feeling that I must be working for them.
And another thing, I don't mind telling you it's a sorry thing when the hydro inspector comes around and makes you rip out wiring in a new home because it isn't up to some fancy code of his.
Really, sir, I have to know the circumstances.
Order! Order, please. Order.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if you please.
Order, please, order. The chair recognizes Abel Mac.
Thank you, Ralph. You don't mind, Dave?
Of course not, Abel.
I've been sitting back there listening and finding it hard sometimes to believe my ears. In all the years I worked for the municipal hydro here, I never realized that so many knew so little about so much affecting their very lives. And the life, in fact, of all Ontario. Now you, madam, who spoke about the way you felt when you left the hydro office. While our hydro people aren't always perfect, perhaps you could have been a bit happier that day. And you, sir, who complained about the hydro inspector not passing you new house wiring. Faulty wiring, or improper insulation, or insufficient circuits to carry the load are potential hazards. Now, isn't it better that the electrical contractor work with hydro inspectors to ensure the safe and efficient use of electricity? Inadequate wiring for today's modern electrical living is inconvenient, to say the least. And you, Jed Oliver, maybe you're too young to remember, but I'm not. Hydro has taken much of the tedium and backbreaking labor of farm management away from you today. Have you ever stopped to think about the way your father and his father before him struggled along on that farm of yours? And Tom Fuller, you're probably not alone in taking hydro for granted. It's been with us, praise God, a good long time now. Have you ever stopped to wonder where Ontario would be today, industrially, without the hydro? And Rita Gray, bless you, child, you finally asked a very key question. How does hydro do it? Well, the chances are there's no one person in all of Ontario who can answer that question for you. Young Dave Spencer here tried admirably and I think did very well, but nobody anywhere can really explain hydro. You see, hydro isn't just a cold, efficiently operating mechanism. It has a heart, too. What if that heart should suddenly stop beating? It never will, of course. And why not? Because hydro is all of us. And all of us, all over Ontario, are hydro. As we grow, hydro grows. And Ontario grows. And in fact, all of our beloved Canada grows to new wealth and stature and well-being with every passing year. Now, I had hoped, or rather I expected that you all appreciated that. I'm sorry I popped off.
Abel Mac, darn you, come back here.
Why, did I forget a point of order?
No. You just forgot this.
Abel, the main reason Ralph invited me to this meeting tonight was to give you this. Not from Hydro, but from all of us here.
Maybe you've forgotten, Abel, but this would have been your 36th year with Hydro. A lot of us here appreciate what you've done for us, for the town, and for Hydro, too. We had a lot more to say, but I think you already said it better.
Well, thank you. All of you. I guess right now I'm just like Hydro itself. Yours to command.
Meeting adjourned.
Well, for me, this was a different kind of ratepayers meeting. How about you?